Good afternoon. Welcome to Politica Show. Welcome, Ilya. Um, Today is August 11th, and this show comes out in the wake of yesterday's debate between Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump. And we obviously want to talk about that debate. The impression that I got, Ilya, is that Kamala was very well prepared, and I didn't expect her performance to be on that level. I think she did very well relative to previous goofies that penetrated every speech she gave. She was actually okay this time around.
Yes.
And there are contradictory reports and opinions floating around as to how he did and she did. So why don't you opine on the debate and your impression?
Okay. Well, first of all, interesting the terms that were there. As you know, it was decided the mics were off. The mics were off in order not to interrupt. One speaker wouldn't interrupt the other if the mics were all the time on. So therefore, mics were between them disconnected. However, it can be still talked. Second thing, which was important, is that they were no candidate had the right to ask the opponent directly. They had to do it only through the moderators. A third thing, which was also part of the terms which explain, and this is fact checker. The fact checkers came into being. It was a second election of Obama. He was running against Romney. Romney said something to which about the Russia or something, and Obama responded, "Oh, it is so a Cold War epic." That is, he was talking about the possibility that Russia will become again aggressive. So when they asked one of the journalists, it was a woman, and then she stated that Romney was wrong, So later on, it was found that he was correct. Therefore, thereafter, now there's the situation where the moderators have the right, as they see it, to ask a question, Google it or some other source, is it correct or not correct? Therefore, I'm just summarizing to you the setting and the end results. The moderators inserted their opinion and fact-checked only Obama, only Trump about 6 times, not a single time Kamala Harris. So this was the general setting of everything, so that you will understand where it was. The other element was it's a prismatic, how Kamala, she was in general, she remembered those pieces that she studied by heart, she used them properly and misproperly. One of the properly so-called things points out to her political mind as such, the architecture of her mind, i.e. when she was saying that Putin, Trump said, and she said that actually Putin could, Kamala said, Putin actually could have occupied Kiev if actions are not, if Ukraine is not being supported sufficiently And then, no question, he will go and try to conquer Poland. And then she could edit. Now try to think what will be the voting pattern of over 800 Polish descendants in state of Pennsylvania. You see, she is even that is preparing. Somebody told them, hey, when you have a chance, sneak in this line, and it was interesting. Now, there was another, her perception of absence of perception or despite, because as you know, Kamala Harris functions in a framework, said her values have changed, by her solutions are modern and updated. And thus, there was a question of where she said the solution of the Middle East problem should be the establishment of Palestinian state. Now, I don't know. She didn't have to say it, because nobody asked her about this.
Yeah, she volunteered it. She volunteered that statement.
The question is that there was some mix-up in her brain and memory with those numbers. She didn't mention how many Jews and not even how many Russian Jews in Pennsylvania, but sure less than 800,000 of descendants of Polish state in Poland. So, so I was surprised that, and I point out that she remembers that position. This was the old position. That is, she said values remain, but her political positions are new. So, whatever she by repeating again that the solution of the Middle East crisis is the establishment of the Palestinian state. Biden sometimes was saying openly, even in his first speech on October 7th from the White House, but it was not the flag. Now it's below the radar, what's going on between Blinken and Sullivan. They still do that the United States will be able to govern, to create a new coalition at which Saudi Arabia, United States, and Israel, and therefore they will make an alliance. And as a price for this alliance, the United States will support the notion of the Palestinian state, which is to everyone, regardless left or right, supposed to be a no-no, because the last thing that one side wants to reward Hamas, the murderers who just killed 5 Israelis, 5.5, and the one is even with American passport, by a fellow by the name of Goldberg. So the question is, by the way, why nobody touched this issue when they selected to murder them. Hamas decided to murder them by shooting in the back of their head. They intentionally inserted a fellow who is also has an American passport. That was to show, don't even dream, don't. They utilize, allegorically, the statement of Biden, don't. Remember, several replies to him was, don't. So
just don't.
It was some kind of don't even think to manipulate us or outfox us. And therefore, this Goldberg was attached to the group of 6 Israelis who were murdered. And now they want to dictate the terms of relationship, of the war itself, and future of what will be done with Gaza area. So, after I said this, I would like to chat and ask, there were evasion. In a way, Kamala didn't ask not a single, or maybe a single question, very direct reply to the questions that have been offered her, posed to her by the journalists. And one of them was, what will be your will be your economic program? You know, she answered, 2 words, opportunity economy. What is opportunity economy? There is no such thing, and she should know, at least only on the basis, because her father is a renowned economist. Moreover, do you know his first name?
No.
Her father? Pardon?
No.
Donald Harris.
That's interesting.
Donald J. Harris, and that is it's a separate story. I saw the books that he published. It's a lot of mathematics and theories, but they're all based on post-Keynesian Marxist theories.
Mm-hmm.
So, without going into this anymore, I will. What interesting is another thing, final. What were the goals of Trump and Kamala Harris? Everybody was afraid, even her coaches, that after 6-7 days, she might confuse something and state something absolutely false. But she didn't, that is, she did it only when she refused to answer the question. All other things she remembered and was able to plug in a certain memories that she knew during that training sessions. And therefore, this was the main thing, was not to get the tremor in legs and in the mind and mouth as it happened on the debate between Trump and Biden. So this test, she passed this test. No big errors were, besides that evasion or telling certain lies, to which Trump drew the attention of the journalists that were posting. However, as you know, in order to journalists who pose only one question without following answer, it's not a journalism, you understand? That is, it allows the candidate to reply as he wants, and the issue is closed. You understand?
Yeah.
Since neither the candidate can talk to one another, you see. Though there was one particular mimic, which he said to her with a smile, I'm talking now, I'm talking. You remember that? That is, he was playing off what Kamala said in the debate with the candidate for vice president in the debate of 2020. So this time he reminded her this kind of girlish approach. I'm talking, you know, moving head and shoulders. So that didn't work there. Now, back to other things which she said. She said a very interesting thing. Utilizing that was in a way, it was a nice, well, I wouldn't call it nice, but somebody taught her that, and she remembered and utilized. And she said, Trump was fired by 81 million of voters. You see, she took this word fired, which was a signature of Trump's TV show, The Apprentice, and said, "You've been fired by 81 million, i.e., those who did not vote for him in the 2020 elections." So that was a little bit creative effort on the part of the training camp where she inserted, and simply objectively it was cute. And once again, what she remembered, that she didn't have replies to all the questions. As a matter of fact, mostly did not do it at all. So there are three issues in a way that questions were posed, and she did not reply to the point at all. The first one was, as I told you, economy. Economy, about 60% saying that the country moves in the wrong direction. And when she was asked what would be your she said, "My plan will be opportunity economy." What is the opportunity economy? There's no such term, but we can comprehend that is a certain extra opportunity is granted to selective people that they could kind of start the life in business. And the point was, she said, "I will give to every new business $25,000. $25,000. And this will help." Of course, there is no assurance what will happen. As we know, so to this point, that billions of dollars lost money from the COVID era. You understand? So now, to give to millions of people $25,000, and it should be non-returnable grant, it's quite a budget. It pays, somebody has to pay for it, and it's a budget. The other thing is, she was saying that she will give $25 for the first buyer of the house. So young people that want, or not so young, to buy their first house, they will get once again $25,000. And it will be lost money for very simple, because when the real estate people know that the first 25,000 that client gets it from the government and will not have to repay it, so they will raise the price of the house by $25,000. And it was obvious once again. So the third point of her economics were fuzzy and not specifically at all, because just a day before, on the side of Kamala Harris, there was not a single point of her plans to repair and help to American citizens in those dire situations. When we know just inflation in August was additional 2.5%, and of course the price of food, simply food, milk, eggs, pork chops, whatever, it is risen above 20%. This point, of course, once again, she evaded it and didn't touch it. But that she will give to minority twice for $25,000 for opening the business and buying the housing, it was something, once again, the big government that has no limits and doesn't care to balance it.
These are populist and very socialist-driven kind of policy.
Yeah, to take them, you're right. It's OPM, you remember the movie, right? Others People Money. And here, what's interesting, said to the illegals that entered the United States, she proposed to give them a loan, so-called, of $150,000 to buy a house. Never in history of the United States was something like this offered to illegals and even to citizens. It was an effort to simply bribe them. It was a bribe offered to people. If you vote for me, you will get some money of it. It will get to you one way or the other. And this was A, highly unethical, and B, it was in the light of the exercise that happened a long time ago. I remember even debates with my friends 10 years ago, that the student loans were then moved from the private banks, which loaned the money, to the government duty. That is, the government had to defray the loans and simply strike it out. Now, why should some people who received the loans had to pay back their loans and the other are not? Is it and pay and at all? This actually is discrimination. It's a discrimination toward the people that were not responsible, obliged to pay their loans and did not. But I remember an argument with my old classmate from Colombia, uh, almost ambassador, served in the Department of State many years. He said, why are those banks should get some profits? You know, he was getting at this point very, very lefty. And I was surprised. I said, why? Because why should innocent people who paid their loans will be in disfavor because they were responsible and honest, and people who disregarded and studied these gender studies and other nonsense would have those loans and will be forgiven for those loans. So this was also Kamala Harris attacked Trump. One of the points was that he will follow the radical plan of 2025. As you know, it's about 25, 30 pages document, which was produced by the Heritage Foundation. Mm-hmm. And Trump said, I'm not going to be, I haven't seen this document. I haven't read this document. I will not read this document, and it will not be a plan for my administration. Yet, all that didn't go once again into clarification. So they switched the topic, and the topic was the debt. Let me see. Corrections, as I said, the ABC. By the way, there is a special connection, personal connections. A person actually who introduced Kamala to her husband is one of the lawyers of the ABC. Thinks that the person who his wife of that person, she is a director, one of the director of the very high in the ABC network. So think of that type. Crimes and crimes by the illegal also was kind of brushed aside and didn't receive a reply. So all together we have that Kamala's prohibition use of terms. Certain terms were not allowed. Among those terms is radical Islamic terrorism. Okay. What happened on 9/11, which today is anniversary, was done by no others but radical Islamic terrorists. Now, her her approach is not to allow this use of that term, which once again didn't come to fruition. Now, an interesting thing which has to do then with the present situation, and this is when the government is obliged to comply with the demands of the terrorists. As you
With
know,
demands of the, I didn't get the last part, Ilya.
terrorists,
Terrorists, I see.
be it variety, and in this particular case, where what price in this dealing with the terrorists as taking hostages or threatening their life can get into the calculation of morality, what should be done. I.e., look at this. If the warplanes would have been above Manhattan as the airplanes approach Manhattan, the hypothetical question is, what would the army, understanding that those two civil planes are going to destroy the Twin Towers, and they have a lot of workers there, 3,000 killed, but additional ones would have been if the aeroplanes would hit the lower 10 flights, Even the lower 10 flights, it would have sufficed. The question, what would government do in that particular case? Would they give an order to the military aeroplanes to shoot the passenger planes or not? And who is more responsible and whose life is more dear? But you understand?
Yeah,
and
yeah.
To what extent? The same thing, you see what happens today in Israel. We are not talking today about Israel, but it's also the same issue. That is how much you have to sacrifice of the state should sacrifice, because you see that concept of life is wholly above everything. And as you know, even when you are sick and you need urgent medical treatment, you are allowed to violate Shabbat even when Shabbat is on Yom Kippur. So in this particular case, in state of Israel, it's a complicated. This was the notion that you should always pay for the hostages, whatever is demanded. But this was in the Jewish tradition when they lived in diaspora. The payment would come from a Jewish community. The state by itself, any state, would have never been asked to pay for the hostages, be it England, United States, they would have never paid for Jewish or Israeli hostages. So therefore, this concept, first of all, you have to pay, no question asked, is different when it's being demanded from a state, because the state is responsible for all citizens, not only those that have been taken hostages. And therefore, this dilemma, the moral dilemma, though it's very interesting nowadays, several days ago, Barak, I have somewhere a point I cannot find it now, but Lapid, as you know, the former member of the war cabinet who resigned, is in New York right now, and he appeared with the things that no compromise with the hostages. That is, indeed, that Netanyahu, whom he accused, that he is callous and he continues the war only because he tries to postpone his cases, so-called criminal cases. So therefore, uh, uh, he doesn't want the war to cease, to stop, and therefore there could be no advance deal with Hamas, and hence no releasing of the hostages. So now he sings the opposite song. You cannot deal and trade and take the promises of the terrorists, because it's even not the army, it's those are terrorists, and those are terrorists are religious fanatics, and a guy who takes obligation by a religious fanatic, we know he's the most silly man of nowadays in the Middle East or in any other things. So what continued. So once again, there was kind of a give and take. I want to come back to the point that is, so who won? Trump was active. He was a little bit aggravated, which we should not. He tried somehow to point out instantly and interrupt about the lies that Kamala said, and sometimes he succeeded, but all in all, it was not a clear-cut victory by Trump. What kind of victory was Kamala? He didn't commit any errors, and normally, a minute after the end of the debate, there was a plea from the team of Kamala Harris. Yes, we want another debate. Now, normally, be it in sport, in box, or any other, the side who says, I want revenge, I want another debate, it's the side that lost, And yet, many people try to show that she survived. She didn't win, but neither she lost. And now is the question of the future debate or debates, and interesting what kind of tactics will be changed, because if they want the Democrat Party wants another debate, then the terms will be should be written together, or at least with a veto by Trump. What I forgot to mention, I just remembered.
We can come back to it. But overall, my impression was that Kamala didn't run into her usual, I guess goofy is the right word. She didn't make these radical misstatements which are laughable. And also, I thought that she was sometimes leading the conversation a little bit. And the initiative was a little on her side occasionally, not on Trump's side.
Yeah, let me point out two more topics. So this was the economy. The other one was the border. Now, as the wall and control of the border, suddenly she said, I'm for it. And the third thing it was the abortion. You see, the abortion, what happened is, as you know, the Supreme Court looked into this previous abortion, Roe versus Wade, and they said that until certain stage, abortion can be made, and the extreme cases, it can be made even on the 9 months, and even when the baby has been already left and is on the table, the doctor and mother can talk and agree to kill that alive baby which is outside or not. Now, all those two topics they were top, which is actually on the agenda of the voters this November 7. And the question is, to what extent, you see, to what extent those topics that were not answered fully and properly will have an impact on future political debates, actions, and even advertising. Those things are of great importance, and we only will see what could be. Let me verify one more. Fracking, the same thing with the fracking, you see. She said, I'll do it on the first day when we will do it. And he says, and Trump replied, why don't you go visit the president at the White House, woke him at 4 o'clock and ask him, let's now change our policy. Why didn't you do till now? And why do you say that you will do it later? There's something absent here that we can trust you on this when you vehemently objected in 2019, and now you are ready to embrace the fracking without any questions. Why? How can that be? You know, they didn't touch anything. One interesting thing is that it was not touched the climate. You know, the climate didn't enter the picture, and I'm thinking now that it was very, very unusual because, after all, climate.
It's a big topic.
Those who support climate. But the bottom line of those things is that numerous Americans remained, after all these 90 minutes, remained in darkness about the specific plans of Kamala Harris to implement and to run on them, because she evaded those issues in this first debate. The question is, how she will deal with such things later. Now, about after the debate, there was a question. As you know, the post debate, groups of people interviewed. Trump was, and many of them really criticized him, said he was not more aggressive. But this what he came with this idea at the beginning, that if he will be aggressive, either to Kamala or to the journalists who pose questions, it will be detrimental to him. That's one. The other thing is that I forgot to mention to you is that ABC sure had another trouble with Trump, i.e. personal, because Trump is suing for George Stephanopoulos, who is the leading star of the ABC. He is being sued by Trump that he maligns. So there was another element which really the ABC were, in addition to all other subjective things that they dislike Trump, practically, vehemently, and openly will not do. But it required, he could not have gotten out of all that situation. So, once again, as I said, what's good for the citizens of the United States remains still questionable. Let me see if I have any other topic for you. Yeah, once again, it was frustrating, and many criticized Trump that he was not aggressive enough. But as I said, this was from the beginning an issue which he was sure that he might create a friction, because it's a man and a woman, because it's a question of race, and because of all other things. He asked her a question: at what point you decide you cease to be Latino or Indian
Indian.
descent, and you became black. Was it your political motivation? Of course it was, but she couldn't say it, suddenly, because either black or somebody, or in this particular case, Indian. So you cannot be both. And she was known, and it was her so-called resume that she is a daughter to Indian mother and from Jamaica father. So in any case, not black. He is so-called more tinted, but not black, because she lived with her mother and all that. I think father was outside. So at this point, I would say that this mostly exhaust. I can look again if I have any other.
So,
Uh,
Ilya, just for a second to go back to her economic policies. First of all, she didn't give a profound account of her economic policies. She just mentioned a
Not
few
at
things.
all.
She didn't mention food prices,
The
right?
food she cannot, because the price is composed on inflation that's going on, and the cost of delivery. Everything comes by the truck. You remember that slogan?
Yeah,
Every Anything you touch today came on a truck, excluding your wife, of course, if she is not a driver. So, yes, it costs more. It was 1.98 a gallon. Now it's 4.25. Double. So the cost of transportation doubled. So of course, everything you have to bring it from the field, fling to the storage to the freezers, and then cross continent to huge, 3 or 4 thousand miles delivery. Of course, it affects such thing, and therefore there was nothing whatsoever in her plan. The plan is simple: take the money, throw it upon her
voters.
constituent. The
Yeah.
other thing is that I forgot to mention, and this is the law. It was in 1992, Clinton proposed a law which was said illegals cannot get uh, right to get participate in federal elections. Now, but they can get a social security number, they can get a medical insurance, their kids can go to school, and then they are registered. They can get some registration set. From that registration, it will go. The next step will be in the list of voters in each state, each county, country, etc., etc. Now, what happened is, so some of them took this form and wrote in, "We are American. I'm an American citizen," with no documentation whatsoever. Now, when it came to the local level, or the precinct, voting precinct, they said, "Oh, I have all that." I said, "Surely you have the right," without checking any documents on based of which he claimed, that particular person claimed that he is a U.S. citizen. That was obvious. You see, the trick was that the more it will go down to the local precinct, the people who are in charge will know how to do it, how to handle it. You see? So that kind of, once again, a certain trust, a certain legal obligations went down the drain when many people, and there are people have been sued, that they stated that they want of them stated, I voted twice already in the federal election, not being a citizen of the United States. So once again, this kind of manipulation, especially when they are removed, so that what will happen. I would like to touch one more item, which has importance not on the election but on some things that happen. But it has to, because the point here is that last week, where do I have my papers? Last week, it was a congressional committee came with a report of 350 pages, the withdrawal of United States forces from Afghanistan. What happened with Afghanistan is that there were regulations how this such withdrawal it should be done. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
And this is a very, very long and detailed analysis, 350 pages. It was prepared by Michael McCall, and there are many specific points which have been violated, ignored, and improperly implemented by the Biden administration for such thing. They even document how U.S. withdraw. You know, U.S. have all those preparation for such thing. When you have a withdrawal, you don't start invent the wheels how to roll it out. So it came out just 2 days ago. It will be very, I don't want to go in the nitty-gritty, but in general, there were numerous violations, including said the leaving the equipment in the amount of about $85 billion. Why was it left there? Because the general said it will cost us more to take it and move it back to United States, which I'm questioning. However, they also could have taken it and bring it to some place in a neighboring Pakistan where this could be awaited and being removed by boats and ships rather than immediately put it through their airplanes. And the third thing is that in this particular time, they could have divided this equipment to Ukraine, to Israel, or to other things which already so-called could not or should not be used by the American army, although most of the equipment was never used. So nowadays, these weapons are being sold to Iran, to other countries, which will provide it with their Hezbollah, Hamas, Houthis, and West Bank, and it will come once back to life to bring death. It will be again, American weapons will be used against allies of the United States, including Israel. And this is a very, very negative thing. But at this point, we have more problems instead. Simple question I will pose you, and it will be, I think, the end of our program for today, i.e., as we know, the so-called football. Football is a nickname for the attaché for control of launching nuclear weapons. There are 3 such footballs, which is called, and those people, it's a president, vice president. This issue is the major one right now. Who is in charge of a strategic weapons of the United States. It's unknown, and the unknown, it's a point where they usually, it's point of unknown or even uncertainty. This is a point with many clashes historical occurred, because suddenly the opponents of the United States see that nothing, it's being, the country and control are being deteriorated, and the chance to overcome them. It's called a jump from behind, you know. And this way, numerous conflicts began when one side perceived the superior power to be no longer superior and took a chance, and in some cases succeeded, and in some cases they failed.
Right.
But
and you think that the existing, well, we don't know whether existing protocols for the football are being observed, and we are not even certain if Biden is capable of making the decision.
Biden is unable and should not be able, you see. And general, old people don't decide to start the war. In Israel, at age 45, either you are promoted to a general pass or you are out of Israeli army. Old people don't make good generals. You understand?
Yeah.
Therefore, in Israel, although here and there they say complete and total annihilation of Hamas, on the other hand, they're saying Hamas you cannot defeat. Yes, you cannot defeat philosophy, you know, but you can defeat the carriers of that philosophy and that barbaric religion.
Yeah.
Right. This is the end of my today's.
All right. Thank you so much, Ilya. That is very in-depth analysis of yesterday's debate. I think very exhaustive.
Okay.
And we'll talk next week.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye-bye.